I was publicly humiliated at my little brother's wedding by a billionaire who thought poor people should stay silent and grateful. In front of 200 guests, he placed a custom card at my seat that called me the poor, uneducated sister living off her brother. And while the entire ballroom laughed at me, he thought my brother would stay quiet to protect his future. What he didn't realize was that my brother knew exactly what I sacrificed to raise him. And before that wedding night ended, his rich father-in-law would accidentally destroy his own reputation in front of everyone. Because some people use money to buy power, but they forget the truth only needs one moment to expose them. My name is Maya Bennett. I'm 36 years old, and the most humiliating moment of my life happened at my little brother's wedding. In a ballroom full of rich people smiling like cruelty was entertainment. I didn't go there looking for attention. I didn't expect applause for the years I sacrificed to raise him. I didn't expect anyone to thank me for the nights I worked until my legs gave out, or the meals I skipped so he could eat. I showed up for one reason, because the little boy I helped raise was finally becoming a husband. And for one day, I just wanted to feel like I belonged. But the second I sat down at my table, I realized someone in that room wanted me humiliated. Because the place card waiting beside my plate didn't say, "Sister of the groom." It said, "Poor, uneducated sister living off her brother." And then people laughed. Not awkward laughter. Not confused laughter. The kind of laughter people make when they already knew the joke was coming. I froze. The bride's family leaned toward each other, covering their mouths while they laughed at me like I was part of the evening entertainment. For a second, I honestly thought about walking out. I told myself, "Not today, Maya. Don't ruin your brother's wedding." But before I could leave, my brother grabbed my hand and stood up so fast his chair slammed against the floor. The entire ballroom went silent. Then he looked directly at his future father-in-law and said, "You just made the most expensive mistake of your life." And suddenly nobody was laughing anymore. The room went dead quiet. I could still feel that place card in my hand. That sentence printed in elegant black calligraphy like somebody had planned my humiliation days in advance. Because they had. That wasn't a mistake. Mistakes don't get professionally printed and carefully placed at one specific seat. Across the ballroom, the bride's father slowly stood up. Until that moment, he had just been another wealthy man smiling in wedding photos. But now, every eye in the room turned toward him like he owned the building, and everyone inside it. He adjusted his expensive jacket, smirked at my brother and said, "Sit down. You're embarrassing yourself." My brother didn't move. "Explain the card." The man barely glanced at it. "It was a joke," he said casually. "Your sister looks old enough to handle one." A few people shifted uncomfortably in their seats, but nobody defended me. And in that moment I realized something painful. Some people laughed because they thought it was funny. Others laughed because they were afraid not to. And the rest stayed silent because silence is the easiest form of cowardice. I looked at him and asked, "If it was just a joke, why was I the punchline?" His smile tightened. "Because people like you take everything personally." My brother's hand clenched around mine. But I stopped him from stepping forward. "Not yet." Then the man gestured toward the chandeliers, the flowers, the luxury around us. "You should be grateful," he said. "My family opens doors your brother never could have reached alone." I heard the insult immediately. So did my brother. I answered quietly. "He reached every door because he worked for it." The man laughed. "And you helped, I'm sure. But sacrifice doesn't make someone educated. It doesn't make someone refined. And it certainly doesn't make someone equal." That one hit hard. Because suddenly every year of my life came rushing back. Packing my brother's lunches before sunrise. Working double shifts until my feet swelled. Pretending I'd already eaten because there was only enough food for him. Selling my mother's bracelet so he could attend a summer program he thought we couldn't afford. I looked that man directly in the eyes and said, "I never came here asking to be equal to your money. I came here as family." He leaned closer and smiled. "Family isn't a word you use to force your way into rooms you don't belong in." That's when my brother stepped beside me and said the sentence I'll never forget. "She belongs anywhere I stand." And for the first time all night, the bride's father stopped smiling. That's when the threats started. He pulled out his phone and calmly said, Maybe we should reconsider a few arrangements before this marriage becomes legally complicated. The bride's mother whispered his name nervously, but he ignored her. Then he looked directly at my brother. Job offers can disappear. Grants can be delayed. Promises can be paused. The room got colder. You're about to learn that pride has a price. But my brother surprised him. He smiled and said, "Thank you." The man blinked. For what? For saying all of this in front of witnesses. And suddenly the room changed. This wasn't about a poor sister anymore. This was now a room full of people watching a powerful man expose himself. Watching him reveal that every favor, every opportunity, every kindness he offered came with strings attached. Then the bride finally stepped forward. Until that moment, she'd stood frozen near the head table looking like someone watching her entire world crack open beneath her feet. She walked straight toward my brother instead of her father. And that single choice changed everything. "Did you know about the card?" my brother asked her quietly. Her face went pale. "No. I swear I didn't." Then she looked at me. "I'm so sorry. I wanted to believe her. I really did. But humiliation makes every apology feel late." Before I could answer, her father scoffed. "Don't apologize for people looking to be offended." The bride turned toward him immediately. "That wasn't offense," she snapped. "That was humiliation." Her mother tried to calm her down. "Sweetheart, not here. People are watching." The bride slowly looked around the ballroom. And for the first time, I think she truly saw the people around her. Some looked ashamed. Some looked entertained. Some already had their phones out. Then she lifted her chin and said, "Good. Let them watch." That landed harder than a scream. Then everything got worse. My brother asked her, "Did you know your father wanted control over our accounts after the wedding?" Her eyes widened. Her father immediately answered, "It was a precaution." "A precaution against what?" she asked. "My husband loving his sister?" The man's voice turned colder. "You're too young to understand how people attach themselves to opportunity." That's when she finally saw him clearly. "No," she said quietly. "I understand perfectly. You think love is only safe when you can control it." And the entire room shifted. Because cruelty stops being entertaining the second it becomes dangerous. Then she walked beside my brother, grabbed his hand and looked at her father. "If you insult her again," she said, "I will walk out of my own wedding." The man stared at her in disbelief. "You'd throw away your family over this?" She answered immediately. "No. You're the one throwing it away." I looked at my brother then. And suddenly I could still see the little boy I raised inside the man standing beside me. Proud. Furious. Heartbroken. For years I protected him. But now? He was protecting me. And the woman he loved was finally proving she understood why that mattered. The wedding should have ended with an apology. One honest sentence could have fixed everything. But powerful men rarely apologize when they still believe they can punish you instead. The bride's father smiled calmly and said, "This isn't a courtroom. I'm not on trial." My brother answered, "No. You're just making yourself look guilty." And that's when the mask slipped. He picked up his phone and made a call right there in front of everyone. "I need Harrington and Vale to reconsider the Bennett hire." My brother went still. Then the man continued, "And pause the foundation review connected to Maya Bennett's community program." My stomach dropped, because that project wasn't about me. For 2 years, I'd been building a mobile career program for struggling teenagers. Kids who needed GED help, resume coaching, interview prep, digital skills. Kids who reminded me of my brother. And this man was willing to destroy all of it because I embarrassed him simply by existing. My brother lunged forward so fast his friends had to hold him back. "Let go of me." I stepped in front of him immediately. "No." He looked betrayed. But I whispered, "Don't let him turn your love into evidence." That stopped him cold. Because we both knew exactly what the bride's father wanted. One angry outburst. One mistake. One moment he could use later to say, "See? This is the kind of family they are." The bride stepped between us and her father. "Hang up," she demanded. He stared at her like she was a child interrupting business. "Move." "Hang up," she repeated, "or I leave." The entire ballroom felt electric. Every guest suddenly understood what they were really watching. Not a family argument. A powerful man using money as a weapon against people he thought were beneath him. He lowered the phone slowly. You think walking away makes you brave? She didn't hesitate. No. Standing here does. Then he looked at my brother and sneered. This is what your family brings. Chaos. Emotion. Poverty dressed up as virtue. And my brother answered. And this is what yours brings. Control dressed up as protection. The man smiled coldly. Enjoy your little victory tonight. By tomorrow morning, you'll understand the difference between pride and power. Then he walked out. Calmly. Quietly. Like a man convinced the real damage had already been done. And honestly, he was right. The next morning my phone rang before sunrise. It was my brother. He did it. His voice sounded wrecked. The job offer was gone. A company email had arrived at 6:20 a.m. saying they were moving in another direction. The bride had already confirmed her father contacted one of their investors. Then I checked my email. The foundation had postponed my community grant, pending further review, which really meant dead, buried, destroyed by one phone call. My brother kept apologizing, pacing around my apartment like anger was the only thing keeping him standing. But I wasn't angry anymore. I was quiet, and that's when people should worry about me most. An hour later, the bride showed up at my apartment wearing jeans and sneakers instead of designer clothes and diamonds. For the first time she looked real. She sat down at my kitchen table and slid her phone toward me. There's something you need to see. It was an email chain from the wedding planner. Attached were instructions from her father's assistant confirming the place card had been intentionally created and placed at my seat days before the wedding. Not near my seat. My seat. My brother whispered. He planned it. The bride looked at me with tears in her eyes. I didn't know. Please believe me. I studied her for a long moment, then nodded. I believe you. Then she played a voice memo. Her father's voice filled my apartment. The sister is the problem. She has that poor woman martyr story. Another man asked. And if he doesn't separate from her? Her father laughed. Then we teach him scarcity. Another clip played. Poor people always turn survival into something holy. Usually it's just failure with better storytelling. I sat there listening quietly, because suddenly everything made sense. Men like him survive because they keep their cruelty private, while performing kindness in public. But now both versions existed on record. Right there on my kitchen table. My brother immediately said, I'm posting all of it. No, I answered. Both of them stared at me. Not yet. Because if we posted too early, he'd call us emotional, bitter, unstable. Men like him survive scandal by making victims look messy. So I told the bride, ask him for one private family meeting. She understood immediately. You want to give him a chance to apologize? Yes, I said. And if he refuses, I want him to prove exactly who he is without a ballroom full of people hiding behind silence. The meeting happened the next Saturday at her family's massive estate. Everything about that house screamed wealth, but nothing about it felt warm. Her father was waiting with his attorney like we were attending a business negotiation instead of a family conversation. He didn't even stand when we entered. Let's be efficient, he said. I assume reality has finally arrived. I sat across from him calmly. You can still fix this, I told him. Restore the job offer. Restore the grant. Apologize. He smirked. You people always need a speech. You people, my brother repeated. People who confuse struggle with character, he answered coldly. People who think surviving hardship automatically earns respect. I kept my eyes locked on his. Poverty does not cancel dignity. He laughed. No, behavior does. Then he looked at my brother. Your wife is tied to a past she should outgrow. And your sister is the anchor. My brother stood up instantly. Say one more word about her. I stopped him again with one raised hand. The bride's father smiled. You see? She controls him. I answered immediately. No. He trusts me because I never used his future as a leash. That finally hit him. For the first time I saw real anger on his face. Then he turned to his daughter. If you walk away from this family, you walk away with nothing. No apartment. No trust. No support. And then he looked directly at me. I'm prepared to offer you a generous amount of money if you quietly remove yourself from their marriage permanently. The room went silent. My brother looked ready to explode. But I only asked one question. You think I raised him so I could sell him back to the highest bidder? He shrugged. Everyone has a price. The bride looked shattered. Then she whispered, I'd rather start over with nothing than inherit comfort from a father who thinks kindness is weakness. And for the first time, he looked afraid. Not afraid of losing money, afraid of losing control. That's when I placed my phone on the table and pressed play. First the recordings from the wedding, then the threats, then his offer to pay me to disappear. His attorney immediately stood up. Richard stopped talking, but it was already too late. The truth was finally louder than his money. He pointed at the door and shouted, Get out. His daughter looked at him one last time and said, That's the first honest thing you've said all week. And we left. In the car, nobody spoke for almost a full minute. Then the bride wiped her tears and said, Post it. This time. I did. But I didn't post it with rage. I posted the place card, the emails, the recordings, the proof. And I wrote one simple statement, that I attended my brother's wedding as the sister who raised him, that I was publicly humiliated by the bride's father, that he used his influence to destroy a job opportunity and freeze a community program helping struggling teenagers, and that when given one private opportunity to apologize, he offered me money to disappear from my brother's life instead, because this story was never about a ruined wedding. It was about something far uglier. What happens when powerful people believe kindness is weakness, and poor people should stay grateful, quiet, and invisible.